Is it true that the salary of a Soviet engineer is just 120 rubles?
Uh, and you are hanging blacks.
This was a classic example of Soviet whataboutism. Communist propaganda regularly recalled the topic of racial problems in the West, while simultaneously representing the USSR as a country of victorious internationalism and the friendship of peoples. However, this was combined with the racial prejudices of part of Soviet society. The hostile glances and insulting jokes were the minimum troubles that a black man could face in the USSR. Violence due to skin color was also not impossible. You ask, what blacks in the USSR? First of all, they were students from Africa. Thousands of them began to study at Soviet universities since the 1960s, after the decolonization of African countries. That was a form of soft power of the communist regime. Let's read the declassified reports of KGB of Soviet Ukraine on what happened to African students in the capital of the Republic, Kyiv. The first document I found in the archive was created in 1965.
In connection with the murder of a Ghanaian student in the city of Baku this March, and the cases of insults and beatings of African students in recent years in Kyiv, the latter expressed concern over their future fate.
I haven't found details of that matter in Baku, the capital of Soviet Azerbaijan.
Such sentiments among Africans are exacerbated by the fact that the cases of insults and beatings of foreign students mostly pass with impunity for the guilty.
Further, the KGB describes two incidents that recently occurred with African students of the Kyiv Institute of National Economy. In the evening of March 13th, Jean-Marie and Joseph Musiku from Congo were shopping at a grocery store near the university. A local guy passing by hooked Joseph and, for no apparent reason, began to provoke a conflict. On the street, that guy and his friends, together 5 people, began to harass the Africans. Jean and Joseph tried to escape, but they were caught up by the dormitory and beaten.
A police officer who came up at that time and saw a fight did not take any necessary measures to protect foreigners and detain hooligans.
Fortunately for the Congolese, Ukrainians studying with them walked by and intervened. On March 18th, Charles Rwampungu, also from Congo, in the company of 2 Ukrainian friends, Anatoly Melnichuk and Yuri Litvinenko, was returning from a bar. When the company climbed the escalator at the Bolshevik metro station, this is near the institute, 2 locals began to insult Rwampungu. Melnichuk and Litvinenko interceded for a friend and wanted to talk with offenders on the street, but they were detained by police at the exit of the metro along with Rwampungu. All 3 were taken to a police room at the station, and now the policemen began to offend the African student. From the statement of Rwampungu quoted by the KGB.
I thought, on the contrary, that the policeman should protect me, but he called me terrible words, worse than these 2 Russian hooligans. I said that I would protest, that they had no right to treat foreign citizens like that. The policeman replied, "Protest as much as you want, anyway no one here will hear you," and called me dirty words.
Melnichuk tried to defend his friend, but, as he later claimed, the policeman answered,
"The black thing got drunk, and he got you drunk, but you protect him."
The police began to beat Melnichuk.
I said that they had no right to beat him, but they answered that they had the right to do anything. "This is not Africa," one of them said, and they started beating me too. Melnichuk lost consciousness from the beatings. He and Rwampungu were taken to a drunk tank, where the beating continued.
The third guy, Litvinenko, didn't protest after his arrest, wasn't beaten and didn't get into a drunk tank. But the court sentenced him to administrative arrest lasting 15 days. All three they also fined. African students outraged by these two cases complained to the dean and to the rector and were not going to stop.
The KGB has information that a reaction-minded part of African students is trying to persuade their compatriots to hold a demonstration in the city and a number of other provocative actions.
Any demonstrations in the USSR could be organized only by the authorities. Unofficial rallies were extremely rare and quickly stopped by the police. Most likely, at that time, the KGB managed to unofficially act on students so that they abandoned their plans. The same document contains several quotes from the letters of Africans in which they complain of racial discrimination in the Soviet Union. Interestingly, a student from Congo, Dembe, drew a parallel with the situation in the United States.
It's true, a black man is always under threat. Believe that in America and in Europe, black will always remain black.
The KGB doesn't write that it intends to investigate the beating of students by the police and punish the perpetrators. Unlike a possible demonstration, they were not bothered with it. Violence motivated by racial hatred occurred in the vicinity of the aforementioned Bolshevik metro station, renamed to Shulavska, also in the 2000s. Not only because foreigners continued to study at that university, but also because there was a market nearby where African immigrants worked.